Imagine a school play, but instead of costumes, everyone's wearing fancy suits. They're talking about really serious grown-up stuff. This play was a hearing, like when the principal calls you to her office. So, there's this super smart lady named Representative Jasmine Crockett. When she walked into this hearing, she wasn't just there to ask questions. Nope, she came with receipts, which is like having proof or a list of all the facts in just a few minutes. She totally broke down what looked like a dream team of lawyers for someone named Trump. She showed everyone how silly it was to think someone could get away with doing something wrong 80 times. And she also explained what Project 2025 really is, like a secret plan for someone to become a bossy leader. But it's hidden in fancy words. This wasn't just someone talking. It was like a super quick and super smart roast, which means making fun of someone in a clever way right there in front of everyone. "Thank you so much, Mr. Chair," she started, sounding really polite. "This is so interesting. A couple of things I'm just curious to know, as we're talking about lawyers and what good lawyers are supposed to do. And if maybe the former president that's Trump knows what good lawyers are like, I'm just going to ask. We're not going to play games. We're going to do this. Miss Winebanks, have you heard of any of these lawyers?" She then read a long list of names. Robert Shealy, Kenneth Chabro, Jeffrey Clark, Matthew DePerno, John Eastman, Jenna Ellis, Michael Fino, Rudy Giuliani, Julia Halia. I've got a long list. "Have you heard of any of these people?" "I have," Miss Winebanks replied. "Are you aware if any of them got in trouble with the law?" "Yes." "And also lost their lawyer's license or got it taken away for a while?" "Oh, yeah." "Okay, so they've had some problems. But these are the lawyers Trump picked himself. I'm guessing none of you, Mr. Trustee or Mr. Costello, were Trump's lawyers?" "No, I was, for a year," Mr. Trustee said. "Oh, you were, and you still have your lawyer's license?" she asked, a little surprised. "I'm sorry, you still have your bar card?" "Yeah," he confirmed. "Well, unless I get picked on for daring to be a lawyer for a former president," he added with a chuckle, You have totally done a lot better than most people who work with him. So good for you," she said, meaning he was lucky. I also want to make sure we talk about what two-tier really means," she continued. "And Mr. Trustee, since you used to be a prosecutor, which is a lawyer who tries to prove someone is guilty, I'm curious to know, have you ever had someone accused of a crime who had over 80 charges in 4 different places, but they didn't have to go to jail before their trial? I know you talked in your opening about what you think a speedy trial means, and it's really only for those people who are in jail before their trial. And last time I checked, most of the time, those people in jail don't have anywhere near 80 charges against them. But I'm curious to know, in your experience, have you ever had someone who had over 80 charges in 4 different places and they weren't in jail before their trial? Yes or no? Well, no specific memory, but I could tell you more if you let me, he answered. You told me no, and I get it, because I haven't either, she exclaimed. So besides that, there's been a gag order that's like being told not to. Talk about something because we're talking about the trial happening now. Have you ever had someone accused of a crime who broke a gag order? And then you went to the judge, and the judge didn't lock them up? And they've done it at least 10 times? I think it's 10. I'm losing count right now. Have you ever had somebody break it? In 35 years, I had never seen someone accused of a crime told not to talk, he said. Okay, not my experience. So you've never... But she started. Well, it's hard to get to the second part if they've never had it, he finished. You're totally right, she agreed. All right, so finally, when it comes to scaring witnesses, maybe you haven't had gag orders, but scaring witnesses? Have you ever had someone you were trying to prove was guilty who was scaring witnesses, and they didn't end up in jail for at least a day or two? I've had cases where people could get the death penalty because they hurt witnesses. I know a lot about gang cases and mafia cases. Most of those people who were accused were already in jail when they tried to stop things from happening in court, he explained. If there's proof of physical violence to stop something, it totally makes sense that they'd be in jail. Thank you so much, she said. And you know, Mr. Hamilton, I don't want you to feel left out of this talk, so I'm going to make sure I ask you some questions. Let me know if you're having trouble answering them, because they should really be yes or no. Let's see.
You're the main boss for a group called America First Legal, right?
That's correct, he replied. All right. And America First Legal is part of something called Project 2025, which is all about making a guide for the next conservative president. And it talks about project pillars, right? You're proud people who helped with Project 2025, he said. Okay. And are you familiar with Project 2025's plan for leaders? In fact, I am, he confirmed. And in fact, you wrote some parts of this plan about the Department of Justice, right? Sure did, he said. And the plan talks about what the next conservative president should do, right? It does. You've done a great job, I just want to let you know, she said, probably a little sarcastically. All right, so let's go through some parts of the plan. It says to get rid of the Department of Education, get rid of the Department of Commerce, use the military to control people protesting in our own country under an old law called the Insurrection Act of 1807. It also talks about changing the rules for thousands of government workers so a president can fire them and hire people who are just loyal to him, even if they're not good at the job. That's probably my favorite part of it, she said again, probably sarcastically. It also stops the FBI from fighting against false information and lies, like from Russia and China, who are actively trying to mess with American elections. I don't know why or how anyone can support Project 2025. And I know there was supposedly a joke about dictators, and if that's funny, but in the United States of America, having a dictator is never funny. And Project 2025 is giving the instructions for someone to become a bossy leader, and for the next dictator to come in. And I know you are doing your jobs here by making sure that hopefully some person on a jury watches this and sees something really popular online of you saying more of this nonsense about the president. But as lawyers, I hope we can all agree that no one gets accused of a crime just because someone says so. It takes a grand jury, which is a group of regular American citizens who sit down and look at the evidence, and they decide. And if Trump is found guilty, it will be by a jury of his regular citizens, and it won't be the President of the United States. The chairman then spoke. I thought you were going to ask a question somewhere in that minute and a half for Mr. Hamilton after you went after his Project 2025. I will point out the government's watchdog group just put out a report that said the FBI punished people who told secrets about them, which is one reason we do need some changes. But there was no question there. But Mr. Hamilton, if you want to say something, you're totally welcome to. Mr. Chairman, my only answer would be to say that there are a lot of different ideas for what a future conservative president could do through Project 2025, Mr. Hamilton responded. And it's an effort to bring back fair rules in this country. And I don't agree with the way some news websites like Huffington Post are describing the ideas. All right, the polite lady is done talking, the chairman said. We'll go to the polite lady from Wyoming, then the gentleman from Florida. Mr. Chair, I'd like everyone to agree, ... Excuse me, another voice interrupted. This is ... Oh, I'll get you as soon as we do this. Just everyone agree? Just everyone agree to put the plan into the record. No objections, the chairman announced. Without anyone saying no, the polite lady from Wyoming is allowed to speak. Well, thank you, the lady from Wyoming began. And if it seems like someone on the other side of this is really involved in this, what you need to know is that Mr. Goldman, the new representative from New York, actually has a personal reason to be involved in this case. He has said that he helped with the case about Mr. Bragg, helping to get Mr. Cohen ready to talk. So he is pretty close to someone who admitted to lying and was found guilty of lying. He also paid the judge's daughter's company over $150,000 for her help. So I think we have a pretty big problem where Mr. Dan Goldman, the new representative from New York, is involved. And just one more thing to remember when you think about how unfriendly the people on the other side are, is that the main important person of Mr. Chair was Jeffrey Epstein, who was a bad guy, taken down. The main important person was Jeffrey, Epstein's helper. So I think that might give you some ideas. I'd like to ask that the things said about Mr. Goldman being in a tricky situation be removed from the record because they are about him personally. The main important person responded, in a world where hearings in Congress often look more like a show than actual governing. Representative Jasmine Crockett just gave a speech so super sharp, it should come with a warning for people who get their feelings hurt easily. Being in front of the House Judiciary Committee, she didn't just